everyone, and here we are at the January 15th, 2024 first board meeting of this year for Harlan Community School District. So welcome everyone, and it's warmed up from 19 to 5 below, so here we are, off and running. And so we'll start out here, the Finance Committee. We have Blatt, Narkfeld, Policy, Rachel, Anderson, Kinkle. The agenda tonight is before us, and the first thing is to call the meeting to order, and if we have a quorum, and like we do have a quorum, Catherine, so we can call the meeting to order. Let's see, we do vote on that, don't we?
Nope.
Don't need a vote. Okay, very good. Then we'll go to the public forum, and we note that it is a public forum, and the public is welcome to come and ask us to talk to us. Was anyone asked to speak at the public forum? Nope. Okay, then we'll go to item C, approve the agenda. Any questions or discussion on the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Seconded by Greg. All those in favor say yes. Yes.
Aye.
And those in favor say no, or not in favor say no. Okay, so the next item is D, discussion items. And we'll turn it over to Superintendent Barnett.
Okay, we have two different groups for guests tonight, and first I'd like to introduce you to Zeke Christensen. He's gonna talk to us. He has been elected as the state president for Iowa Jobs for America's Graduates. So we're very excited to have him represent us, and he went to Washington DC, so he's gonna tell us all about it.
All right, so on November 28th, I was flown out to Washington, D.C., completely expense-free, courtesy of IJAG, and I learned a lot of things, met new people, and it was very exciting. So first, you can see the Washington Monument there, a quote from the Holocaust Museum, and those guys are my State Career Association. That's Alante Gross, that's Ryan Knight. Alante, he's our current president, and Ryan, he is our parliamentarian. And then if you look right next to Alante, that's John. John is our secretary. And on this next one, that is the United States Department of Agriculture. Just got a quick picture there. And then here's our current and upcoming State Career Association, including me. That is Lexi Vasquez. She is our vice president. That's Edgar. He is our parliamentarian, and that is Adriana. She is our secretary. And then here is me with our National Career Association. That's Kira Canada, our president. She's also from Iowa. That is Frida. This is Jenna and Seth. And then just a couple pictures from the Capitol visit. And I went to the John Deere Capitol building, and you can see the White House from right there. And that's the only reason why I got the picture there. And that's all I have for this slideshow. But a couple of key things to point out. I did go to an academy at the Hyatt Hotel and on Capitol Hill. What happened there was pretty interesting. I learned a bunch about student leadership and leadership in itself. This whole opportunity, I guess, has allowed me to, build up a better confidence for myself. Also comes from my middle school years, but about all I have to say.
Okay, do you guys have any questions for him? We just want to say thanks. We know this is super cool for Harlan, just to have a state representative. And what was your favorite thing? What's been your favorite thing so far?
My favorite thing so far about IJAG and JAG as a whole is that I now get to be a voice for a bunch of people. And me, of course, being myself, I guess being different has led me into a lot of more opportunities such as this one. And I couldn't be more grateful for it, but I also couldn't be more grateful to be here at Harlan because their support system is amazing. And the community here is definitely more welcoming than any other that I've encountered, and that's definitely helped me through a lot along the way. Especially, making the path getting here was not necessarily easy, but everybody here has definitely helped me out with that.
Thank you for representing
Thank you.
Harlan.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
Great job.
Appreciate it.
As you would like to, Zeke. I mean, there's a lot of action that goes on. Yeah.
Well, then if I can leave it on it.
That's all right. No, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so now our science teachers went to the National Science Convention, a couple of them, so I'll let them introduce themselves, tell you what they teach, and tell us all about it.
Hey, I'm Andrew Sanquist. I've been in the district for 8 years. I've taught science for 10. Currently, I teach anatomy, physiology, chemistry, and biology. Taught physics in the past. I can teach about anything. I do high school girls soccer, coach that, and I coach junior high wrestling, do driver's ed on the side as well. I'm originally from Woodbine.
I'm Dylan State, third year at Harlan. This is my 9th year teaching, I think. Here, let's see, I've taught biology, physical science, and chemistry is what I'm currently teaching, so.
We just want to say thanks for the opportunity to let us talk here tonight. We're going to share a few things about our experience at the convention. We'll kind of split the slides a little bit. So we went down to the convention in Kansas City, and it was late October, very rainy night when we went there. Barely made it there, but we did. And the first thing, or how it's kind of set up is, I've never been to a conference, a national science conference before. I've been to a couple other conferences. And I was expecting some more key speakers, but they only had 2 key speakers, and the rest of them were like smaller groups. You get to choose what you want to go to. And usually we split up, so we weren't just like, why are we going to the same class when we can just do the different ones, broaden us. So the first thing these kind of speakers, let's see if it's working.
There we go.
Okay, storytelling. So the 2 speakers, the keynotes that did, they told their stories really well, and it was very compelling how they told their story of how they got involved in science, and how telling a story really brings people, you really pull people in to a good story. A couple years ago I spoke at the Veterans Memorial, or Veterans Day, and if you can kind of tell your story, your history a little bit, it gets people engaged in it. And we're trying to do that with science, is what they're trying to do. And it's kind of phenomenon based is what we'll talk about a little bit. So stories give students the ability to connect to something stronger, helps them relate a little bit more, and they can remember a little bit more from it.
Yeah, one of the classes I went to was using Midwest phenomena to help drive that storyline. We can talk about things way across the world, but those kids don't see it. They don't have that grasp of it all the time. So how can we bring that into the Midwest more and just continue to have that connection for them? The guy that spoke was really good. He helped write the NGSS standards, so he had a pretty good understanding of them. And he told the story of how did the migration and climate change over in Europe lead to the biggest cemetery in St. Louis. And using that to drive and explain those stories to help kids kind of go, oh, well, that's cool, and then move on with it.
Okay, so Open SciEd is where we spent a lot of time there. And if you're not familiar with Open SciEd, it's a free-to-use curriculum. If you're not familiar with NGSS, Next Generation Science Standards, they've been out for a while, but they're very difficult to understand and interpret what they mean. And so this Open SciEd is a curriculum that's free, and it's the only one that's really stamped by NGSS to say we support this. What's nice about it, it's free, but it's based off of a natural phenomenon and models. It follows a storyline of every unit, so it gives you some big story picture. You go through the unit, and it always brings the kids back to that story, so something to relate it to, like, why are we doing this? Why am I learning about cellular respiration or something? Like, what is the point of it? It'll bring it back, tie it to it. So it gives them some kind of connection. The downside is, the good side is really thorough, but it'll take a long time to implement. So I'll let him talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I went to 2 or 3 different sections just on Open SciEd. One of the big ones we went to, there was 4 or 5 teachers that were implementing this in the classroom already. They were writing it, kind of being the pilot classroom or classrooms for it. Big thing they talked about was a huge rise in classroom culture, making the kids accountable. It is all driven by the kids, by discussion, by making a model, revising that model, revise that model again and again and again until you get a better answer as you work through the unit. They talked about the positive reaction they had from kids. The community. They talked about the kids kind of going, well, we don't do anything in science. Okay, well, tell me how a microwave works. And then boom, they got it. Okay, well, what about this? Boom, they got it. But what they saw was like the parents. They'd go home and talk about this stuff with the parents. And this is what we did today. And we learned how forces are causing earthquakes, stuff like that. So while they didn't see it as doing a lot in class, they were actually doing a lot in class, which is always interesting. How can you trick kids into learning? And they said the kids did appreciate not feeling trapped in a routine classroom. You are constantly doing new things, revising that model, instead of just sit down, take notes, take a quiz, take notes, take a quiz, repeat, repeat, repeat.
I went to a class in the AA over the summer on Open SciEd, and I really enjoyed it too. And so we're thinking of implementing maybe a unit this next semester into there, because to just drop everything we're doing and go in and do it would be a little overwhelming for us. And 3 of us teach biology, so we're thinking of maybe trying to pick a unit like ecology and just taking that and running from there. Because like I said, it's not all of them are out yet, but it's just there for us to use. Except for like the cost of like lab materials, which a lot of times we have that stuff, or we have a budget, we can still use that. Here's a couple of what it looks like. I don't know if you want to see anything on
Yeah, this is a physical science one looking at forces in the Earth's interior and how does that change the Earth's surface. You can see, number one, it's what's happening in the Afar region, which talks about earthquakes they had that left these, kilometer-long trenches in the crust. And you can start to see that would be lesson 1. You're just going to get the background knowledge. Lesson 2, what allows a system to remain stable. You're looking at how different forces are acting, the different angles that they're pushing at, and how 6, 7, 8 forces can still remain stable at the end. And then we have a couple pictures from the last couple lessons there. How do forces act on objects? So you're starting to bring in the Newton's laws again, stuff like that. And then you're kind of wrapping up, how can we use our science ideas to explain what happened at the mid-continental rift, which is, obviously here on the Western Hemisphere. And
It's
stuff,
all phenomenon based, so it's like something, all science is trying to understand some observable phenomenon that we notice in the world, and we're trying to use science to explain it, and I like that because it tailors back to it.
Can we explain why we don't use the metric system?
I've asked that
Why?
to students all the time. I don't know. Too much money. They probably
Cannot use
overhaul it all.
imaginary measurements.
It's so silly.
I think they need to just change it over. But I agree.
This is silly.
I agree though too. We tell them to use
But
it.
even he said kilometers. I don't know how many that is. How wide is that? How deep is that?
Nobody knows.
I know.
What?
Keep going. Sorry.
You're fine. So I went to a couple breakout sessions on ideas for getting more hands-on with students. And one of them, this is a link here if you care to look at it later, but it's a 3D molecular designs. That's what these water they're water molecules and they're magnets and they only connect in a certain way. So it teaches like why would a positive maybe connect with a negative, or that it's a polar molecule, has unequal distribution of charges, something like that. We teach them. And then there's ones, the green and the blue, that doesn't work over there, but the green and the blue one on the corner there would be like a sodium chloride molecule, and we talk about how come the structure looks like that. What I really like about this is that word, the first line that says models give words to meaning, because we talk about this microscopic stuff all the time in biology. Our first part we go from what is a molecule to a cell, putting it to, we talk about an organism and then organ systems and stuff, and putting it all together. So we start really small and build up, but kids just don't have a connection to it. It's even hard for us to grasp, even as adults, even science teachers. We're like, well, what does that mean? That's so small. Or so, what I like about the molecules is like this is what protein synthesis looks like, our DNA replication looks like on a molecular level. But they're kind of expensive kits. But I looked at them, and we could kind of talk about as a department of where we want to spend our money, kind of in the future, what we want to do. And okay, yeah.
Yeah, another one just for getting kids more hands-on, those memorable lessons. Went to a class with a guy who talked about radio telescopes, and one that you can basically build for about $50. That's a picture of the one he brought to the class. And with that telescope, you can use it to detect hydrogen out in our galaxy. You can do it in the daytime, so we could go out just during school. You have to align it a little bit and point it at different points. You can determine how many arms the Milky Way galaxy has, how fast are those arms moving, how fast is the Earth moving, how fast is the sun rotating, all this stuff, just from something that simple. And it's stuff like that, that we have to get our hands on and start to implement, because something like that, kids are going to remember that for the rest of their life, looking at that stuff.
All right, data collection tools. So in our, up in our storeroom in science, we're trying to unify tools for data collection. We've had stuff from the early 2000s, like still up there, and things change pretty often. The good thing is that our new systems can connect to our older tools, like our probes that we use, counters, photo gates, stuff that we use. It's just the system itself is outdated that we kind of need to update. One of the things that we saw there was his calculator, and we did a zombie apocalypse kind of
Yeah, it's like a
thing.
statistic.
It's like how like a virus would spread, and it talked about, and so you would use this calculator, but it's basically a glorified like iPad or computer, I guess I'd say, more than just that, but it would more than just graphing, but it'd run you through a scenario of what would happen if a virus would spread, like kind of what it would look like. Not saying that we want to get that; those are about $250 a piece, but we're just kind of plugging a little bit that our stuff's getting outdated, and we are getting a new facility in the next year. But if we go Open Sci-Ed, how does all this stuff kind of come together in the end, and what would we kind of need? That's what we're trying to grapple with a little bit up there in the science department.
You're suggesting the early 2000s are older.
Yeah, I know, and that's when.
Okay.
Yep.
Just checking.
Don't ask him how you.
Just checking.
Then we thought we'd end up talking about some things going on in our rooms right now. Tomorrow we will start the rat dissection with our biology kids. I can tell you everyone's excited about it. Every single person is going to be hands-on. No one's going to be grossed out.
No one's gonna report.
I'll be grossed out, just so you guys know. I cannot stand the smell. Chemistry, we're looking at percent of sugar and gum, stuff like that. Formula for magnesium oxide, where we burn off metals using crucibles and stuff like that, and you can actually figure out the chemical formula based off what burns off. Stuff like that, some really cool stuff that gets the kids hands-on. And then physical science, this was my semester project for the kids. We took all the stuff we learned from semester 1, threw it into this project, so forces, acceleration, velocity, Newton's laws, all that stuff, and they had to build a roller coaster for a marble that had to last a certain amount of time, and these were just some of the examples that the kids came up with.
That's all we have. Do you guys have any questions, or else you want to say right now?
So the idea of Open Sci-Ed means that you're trying to give them stories or give them application more than
Yes,
just rote memorization of biology facts and figures?
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of based off of how science kind of works in general. It's like we have a question. We want to explain how something works. So we maybe show them some phenomenon happening, and then they research. They kind of guide it, which is kind of like makes me a little uneasy because I'm like, I want you to get to this point, but it kind of lets them veer a little bit, and then eventually gets back to it. So they're researching stuff. You might have 3 or 4 groups researching a different reason why, and then we'll all end up at the same area at the end. Is you got to build that classroom culture, which you talked about earlier, really, really well in there, because just respecting each other's ideas. How do I interact with each other when they bring another idea up that I really don't like, or like, how do we work this out? So you just find a question, or you find a phenomenon, but the program leads it all. I mean, it's really laid out. It's just, it would take time to go through what we were looking at it. To get it really well.
So I suspect they feel the research is indicating that learning will be more retained or more extended with this approach?
Yes, I would say that.
Isn't education overall going in that direction, though? More student-driven
Project-based
than
and
teacher?
Well, you guys, you grew up before we had these cell phones, where we could be like, what's a kilometer mean?
Yeah.
What's a kilometer mean?
Right.
You could just do that instead of you.
Every doctor has an app on their phone to know how many pounds, kilometers.
It's a hard thing, though, I think, in science to figure out, because you have to be somewhat science literate or have science terminology or knowledge to be able to even read something, though, too, at times. So you could be reading something about mitosis or meiosis, but not have no idea what that means. You can say the word. So it's kind of something we battle with a little bit. It's like, how much do you give them rote memorization, or like you just need to have some knowledge up here to be able to apply it to what you're doing, too. And I think that's where I think Open Sci-Ed is from. Actually, they want it from kindergarten on up. I don't know if they're done with kindergarten or K through 5th grade yet. I know junior high's out there some, and then high school's almost done. But if they start it younger, those elementary teachers got to do a lot of hard work to get them used to the routine of how do you research and stuff, and then we just go deeper and harder.
Do you think standardized testing will have to change because education is seemingly drifting towards these more, I don't know, open theoried?
It has changed, so like the ISASP tests on science it's not just multiple choice. There's essay questions, there's true, false, connect.
So it's more comprehension based?
It is, it's more than it was, but yeah, it will continue to deepen. And all standards are moving to more inquiry based.
Most of the science ones are based off of if you can interpret this data, this graph, this information, what does it tell you? Build a model. What does it tell you? So if you can interpret, if you can read really well, you usually do really well on all the tests, because that's what it comes down to, comprehension. It's nice to have some knowledge. Some of them were a little harder. They were really specific for chemistry, but most of them were, just what I remember, but most of them are, in a sense, kind of vague, or just like, what's the information here given to you? What do you understand?
There is they have to redo the report card and our accountability to the federal government, and one of the things that they are proposing to add is the science scores. So right now, they just look at math and reading, and science will probably most likely be on it as well. I mean, we take it and we use that data, but now it will count towards our accreditation. And
Would that move to taking it every year?
no, right
Still an
now,
8 and 10?
so right now they have reading and math have the reading, your actual reading score plus then your growth, because they can measure from year to year, whereas science, they would just have the science scores and not the growth, but they haven't explained all of that yet, so those are our questions, but.
This is probably a longer conversation to kind of have, but it's just kind of frustrating because we're looking at our essential standards, what's important if they go on, what's their next level, if they go on to college or just go out in the field, working field. But if you go to college, it's still set in this, for the lower level classes, it's still set in rote memorization and stuff. And it's not until you get to like your grad school, that's when they're almost doing the open sci-ed stuff, because they're looking at some kind of question they want to answer, and then they study it. So we're trying to like, how do we train our students? Because you do it this way, and all of a sudden you get to college, and they're like, read this chapter, and then take a test on it, or a couple chapters, whatever. So it's kind of hard. But I think they can still be successful with the open sci-ed. We try to teach somewhat to what our experience was in our college, or what did we feel like we needed more understanding of before we get there. A little heads up, something so. But thanks for your guys' time.
Yeah, thank you for explaining it.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Do you want us to clap for you too?
We're good.
Okay. Just checking.
Okay. That's all I had on the superintendent's side. You want to go to the facility committee?
Yes.
Okay. Attached, you will see the facility committee updates. So Stephen has updated us, and I can go through those real quick with you guys if you'd like. So issuance one is the auditorium. So there's a couple things. There's supposed to be a mobile stair unit. So we don't have stairs there right now, but we decided on a mobile stair unit, whether we use it or not use it. So that's on back order, but it's coming. Final punch list, there was a couple places up by the sound booth in the back where the carpet and the actual edging was coming apart. So they've got to fix that. So our guys, Stephen and Patrick, aren't going to sign off until all of that's done. Let's see. Financially, we finished below budget, so that's good. The projector needs to be put back up. So the projectors, if you guys recall, we had to take it down in order to do the ceiling, and to put it back up, we've kind of gone back and forth. We've looked at a projector that behind the, I can't think of it, something arm.
Rear projecting.
Something arm projector that goes almost behind. So, but they are quite pricey, like $25,000 to $30,000. So that was not in our budget. So we're putting the big projector back. And
Didn't
now
you say something about them not being able to get the sound shells up with the projector there?
we're looking at that. We're looking at moving some things and doing
Some of them
things.
too, is we're gonna see how much usage there is of it to determine
do we need it back
Projector?
hanging up, or can we
Oh.
just
Yeah.
leave it down? Because that is the issue, one of the issues why we wanted to get the back one.
Gotcha.
Not realizing how expensive those other cameras are. So we're
Usage.
still researching that,
Yeah.
and it's not like we have to have that right now, but just keep that on your radar. It's about $6,000 or $8,000 to reposition
Well, I
it
should
and
have
put it
brought
back
my
up.
glasses.
So we're just gonna wait.
And they're not positive that's gonna work.
That'll work because of the sound, yeah, the sound shells.
Is the sound
Do you need
stuff,
readers or do you just want to?
is the sound stuff in the
Readers won't work
rooms
from
that it
that
was
distance.
supposed to? Wasn't there supposed to be sound in the choir room and the band
That's in the
room and the?
wheelhouse. They're not.
There's supposed to be
That's part of the-
monitors, TV monitors.
Sound, so they can hear what's going.
The drops are in there.
The drops
Yeah.
are in there, we just don't have the, yes.
Just not the
Yep, yep.
monitors.
Yeah, that's all wired and ready to go. So that would be something we need to, and I think that was that was on us, so we just need to get those ordered.
I don't remember where we're at with that, but the drops are there. It's
Yeah,
capable.
there's.
We just have to
I've
have.
seen stuff in the choir room.
Yep.
Yeah. Issuance 3 is high school and the elementaries, so, we're just, the steel is there, and then the snowstorm hit. So they were out today moving snow. So they're gonna get the steel up, and we will eventually, pretty soon here, see some walls. So that was exciting. There's a casework public bid that we still need to do in February. Lockers, which is a bid for the high school that's still gotta go on. Project's on schedule, and we're currently under the contracted amount right now by 18,000, which is good to hear we're under. And then planning is still continuing for the spring for issuance 2, which is the high school. And we're working on the trailer layout, fire safety items, getting the power. HMU has, I mean, we'll have power, fine, but we gotta lay them all out and make sure we've got everything where they need to be. And the fire alarm system has to be hooked up to that as well. Let's see. I don't think there's anything really, the scheduling is it's on schedule for this second round. Financially, we're on budget right now, but just to be fully transparent, I mean, we have about $500,000 in the contingency that we will most likely use at the high school because there's not gonna be very many surprises, hopefully, at the elementary. Brian's
We
gonna
did
say
get
something.
one good news Friday, I believe, no, Thursday. We did get the bids back on the demolition slash asbestos. Asbestos we're doing outside of the project, obviously, but the demolition came back and it was about, they have to vet the vendor, but it came back 75,000 under.
So that'll go back into the contingency
So
once
then
that
we'll
all
be
goes,
plus
so that'll
five.
be plus.
75
was the total
plus
bid?
18 we were? 18 was it?
What was the total bid? 75 less?
It's a combination bid with the asbestos. The bid came under 75,000 under what they projected it was gonna be.
So what percentage is the 75 of the total?
Of the total they had budgeted,
100 and.
they had budgeted, I wanna say 175 to 180, and it came back at 100.
Wow, that's pretty significant.
That's huge.
And I've heard the vendor, so I don't think there's gonna be issues.
Perfect.
Very good.
Excellent.
So high school might be not so fun.
That's the one I'm talking
Little
about.
step. Just a little.
We think we can get a favorable demolition bid over there too.
Yay.
We can.
Good. Okay, item number 3, new budget process for fiscal year 2025.
Right?
Really, all we really want to touch on this, they changed the budget process for actually all public entities in the state of Iowa. So we will have to have 2 public hearings this year versus 1 on the budget. There's one gets done, I don't know the exact dates, but it'll be in the March 15th, 20th, maybe 25th range. And then there'll be one sometime in early to mid-April. So, and they'll probably won't coincide with the meeting dates, I would doubt. We're thinking if possible, if we can at least get a quorum here, we're gonna try to do them over the noon hour. They should both be fairly quick. Just wanna put this on your radar.
We might be able to, with the safety vestibule at the middle school, I know
Yeah,
once
we
if you pass what we've got on there tonight, then we can put the bids out and that'll be done. They want those done by March, so maybe there's ways we can even combine those two so that
Hopefully.
we can get things moving.
Start doing them by March?
Well, the bids.
Oh,
Get- Bids would be due in March and then start in May.
gotcha. Thank
Yeah,
you.
And then do
Yes.
it over the summer.
Just wanted to make sure you guys knew.
yeah.
Very good. Any discussion or questions on the new budget process? Okay, next we have D4, student accolades.
Okay. It's coming. There we go. Mr. Moser.
I didn't even send any pictures because we only had 2 days of school, so I don't know what we've got here.
Caroling.
Oh, that was our Christmas caroling. Yep. Every year we get together in the gym or in the hallways or something and we sing Christmas songs. That's what that was. And then we've got the lesson on meat.
Hour of Code.
Oh, the hour of code. Yep. So that is just that. And it's fun stuff. Like feels like they're just playing with little robots, but they're learning how to code computers, in a fun way. And
They
then,
posted some videos of that caroling. Did you see those?
of the caroling.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Was I on there?
Yeah, I think you were.
You're number one.
Partridge in a pear tree.
Oh, that one. That was
They
awesome.
posted kids too, caroling.
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that one already. Dr. Barnett was in that.
Just
for the
a
record.
drummer at the end.
The kids got so into that.
Oh, yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
I thought D. Mosier was gonna hurt his back.
Yeah, he had to have workman's comp.
Yeah.
After that, I jumped on his back 12 times. But yeah, that was actually kind of fun. So, yeah.
Mr. Mueller?
Yeah, so there's, down there at the bottom, there's some mentoring going on there with a little mentoring program that Mrs. Dare has lined up where students can come in and ask for some help, whether it's out of a class or a course, and she'll try and line somebody up that has a study hall that is willing to assist them. So that's that. And the middle one, that is Mrs. Arnson's classroom in there where she kind of has, instead of giving kids worksheets, she has things kind of posted around the walls in her classroom. And so you get to work with a group and you just kind of move it's getting them out of their seat and working collaboratively there. And then that last one over there is some kids that were being recognized for Student of the Quarter, a few of them, but then there's a massive amount of them, but there's 3 of them there, I believe. And then up at the top is a picture of some of our jazz students. So they're underway here, their big season's coming up. And so they'll be going to, I think they go to 5 different ones, jazz competitions. So they'll be hitting the contest trail here shortly.
And kudos to Mr. Mueller and the other middle school people. Mr. Paulson, I don't know if you knew, the band teacher for middle school he did it last year too, but from his house in Erling, it's like 13 point whatever miles.
It's under the district one. There you go.
Oh, there he is. Okay, Mr. Mueller was waiting outside. It wasn't as cold as it is now, but he was waiting outside, and they had a whole group for them that Mr. Mueller helped orchestrate. So, and that is Matt running with his own head on his shirt.
His own head on his
It is his head on that shirt. Okay, I didn't know they were gonna highlight you, but
Yeah.
good job to you. Stood outside waiting for him.
Okay, Casey.
For the high school, that top picture is, it is actually this semester, one of the first days of school. Is it Steve Holt? Was here, came in, was invited by our IJAG class to come and visit. And he talked a little bit about government service, I believe, and so that's a group of IJAG students with him. And I think that's an ag project. They're working on, out in the greenhouse. There we go. Can't see. working on a horticulture project. And then that middle picture, the student council sponsored or did some Santa and different things right before Christmas. You'll recognize Zeke there on the right. He didn't mention this, but he also got to go to Des Moines, and he went to Governor Reynolds' house over Christmas and met her, and they had, a meal together or something, and he was telling me about that.
Isn't she the president of JAG? She's like the president or something of
All of
JAG.
JAG? I didn't know. Yeah, I don't know.
She's something
In the state of
I
Iowa.
read for the state of Iowa in JAG, yes.
Yeah, so he thought that was pretty neat. He's always got that top hat on, which is just totally in character for him. It's fun. And then, that's a STEM student, and I think that's Miss Rachel there. I don't know what she's working on, but she is she's going to be one of our inaugural students working on with some area businesses this semester in quite a few different things actually. So she's really been taking our STEM program and computer science and along with many other students and just going hard with it. So doing some pretty cool things.
We do have some cool things in that and we've talked about social media being better. It's partly because the students are doing it, and what they do is, they, like if I said tomorrow's 2-hour late start, they have them all ready, so then they just post them all, but it's not as archaic as when I did it. It's way better.
Yeah.
But they've got systems where they can put them out on all of our things, not just, I gotta go to Facebook, I gotta go to,
Emerson's part of that, and then
yes.
she's also part of a small group that she's working with the Wellness Center to do some social media work. I know there's another organization she's working with, so we're working on moving kids to a
work-based experience.
Work-based experience, so that in partnering with some businesses. So she's kind of our guinea pig group to go out and make connections with businesses. I know she went down for a meeting this week and just trying to get kids those hands-on learning opportunities, just like what our science teachers were saying. We learn best by doing, and we learn best by getting ourselves inside the problem and figuring out a solution to get out. So definitely a direction the high school is moving, I'd say.
We talked about tricking the kids into learning. Now here's students tricking the adults into learning.
Yeah. You give them, raise the bar and give them the opportunity, they'll do it. And the time.
So there is Mr. Paulson, and he did run, and it was a great fundraiser for the music boosters. Do you know how much you guys raised, Jane?
Yeah, it's over $1,000 just in people sponsoring his miles, and then with the shirts, we worked with Xander Inc. and we have some money coming from them too. So it's a lot of work, but for him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
We just want to recognize Sarah Fink. She received an award from NETA, which is the Nebraska Educational Technology Association. She's been a great addition this year to our technology group, along with Kylie Lewis, and then Jeremy has done some things too. So they're all a part of that science, computer science, coding, all of those things. A lot of those are Sarah's doings. So, and then Mia is right there, and we just wanted to say thank you to her family because they donated a clear touch board in her name. So we're super thankful for that. And then we just have a picture there of being able to be in the actual auditorium when it's finished. And there's no yellow tint to that picture at all because it used to be a lot of that. So exciting. Okay. All right, Jim, done.
Very good. Always good to hear the student accolades, isn't it? So we'll move on to E, action items. And the first item we have here is number 1 is the personnel report.
It's been a while. We have a middle school para resign, And then we had our elementary custodian resign, but we already have a new one hired and he's doing wonderfully. And then we have all of our middle school positions filled. And there were some transfers, as you're gonna see down there. So we hired Delaney Kelly, and then we are bringing Thomas Fink and up from the elementary, Kara Farah up from the elementary, and Katie Aronson is switching from math to science. Did I get that right, or is that backwards?
Yes.
Math to science. And then, I'm sure we've talked about this before, but Galen Petchy and Sam Wilwarding were teaching in our second and third grade classrooms, and they graduated this December, and so they are now on the salary schedule as teachers. So that's really exciting for them. And now, as a result of some of those people moving up, we have 3 elementary openings, but hey, we're already interviewing for those positions, and I'm feeling pretty good about them. Yeah, so that's the personnel report.
Any word on the softball coach?
No, Anthony's still looking. Do you have any updates?
I see my format's just a little bit different. Could you address the assembly change that we're going to be making, or is that next month will we completely?
Yeah, I mean, this is, so this is, we purchased the assembly software. It's going to help us make our agenda planning and our policies, you guys. It's going to be great. A lot easier, less cumbersome. I will, right after this meeting, or probably tomorrow, I will send you all a link to get into the assembly software, as well as I think it's a 15-minute training video that you can take before the next meeting. And your username will be your first initial and your last name.
Homework.
Yeah, get homework. First initial, last name. It's gonna be a lot easier for you and me. So I'm really happy about it. Al's used it on the IASB board and really, really likes it. As a matter of fact, he was kind of the guy who...
Yeah, the ringleader.
Yeah.
Nudge Joe on to see that we're doing it.
Nudge Joe on.
He did.
It's a great system.
My main question was, we'll still be able to see what policy was and what you are suggesting it go to, right?
Yeah, so I used policies and assembly in the AEA, and that's how I kind of used the green for the new and the strike through.
Okay.
That's exactly how it's gonna look here. So
Perfect.
it won't be any different from you guys, except for when we approve them, all I have to do is hit a button instead of going into the policies and changing every single thing.
Unless we don't want it verbatim, what
Correct. Yep.
they're suggesting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'll agree that the old system was a little bit clunky. You had to click here and click there, and this link, and that link, and so it remains to be seen, but I'm believing you that this is going to be easier to
Sure, it won't be perfect right away.
through the agenda. Yeah, take a learning curve.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Any other discussion or comments about the personnel report? Would someone like to make a motion to approve the personnel report?
I'll move.
So moved by Roger.
I'll second.
Second by Jen. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. Okay, next item we have E2, approval of professional services proposal for the middle school secure entry.
Okay, so there are 2 pieces to this. So one piece is De Novo, which is the company that we're currently working with all of our bond issue, with all the construction. And we asked them to be our construction manager on this middle school piece. So the middle school piece is being funded through a safety grant. And we applied to get, you could get up to $50,000 per building. And you have to do something in each building, but some of the, if you don't have $50,000 of need, then that can roll over to the other buildings. So cameras and then the safety vestibule were our 2 things. So we've got cameras ordered for all 4 buildings to upgrade, and then whatever is left, we will move to the middle school vestibule, because by the time we get done with all the construction, that would be the only one that doesn't have the 2 entry piece. So, that being said, there's lots of different hoops to jump through with this because it's federal dollars. So Brian and I were on a call the other day, and there's many hoops we have to jump through in order to get even reimbursed for some of this money. The first step is we have to have the contract with the architect, and they have to approve the plans first. The bond or the grant people do, the federal grant people do, before we can move forward. So in order to do that, we had to make a contract with De Novo separate from what we already have, and then they have a contract with the architects. So, and the fees are high. And I discussed that with him. I mean, it comes down to, the architect fees are gonna be the architect fees, and we have to have architect plans. We have a relationship with De Novo. It's grant dollars, so that's something we can discuss, but I definitely did talk to them about it as well. And we had this discussion with them even before we hired them. That's, I don't know if you want to.
I didn't realize the part where you have to jump through some federal hoops because that,
Well, even to
you
give
can't
an
just go out and hire a general contractor.
just to give an example, one of the plans actually have to be approved by the state fire marshal before we can even begin. That's not something we can do on our own.
Yeah.
So we have to utilize professionals to do it, plain and simple. Actually, after being on the call the other day, I said, well, I think now I know why we're doing it the way we're doing it.
There are a lot of little things that little intricacies with this grant that they will be responsible for. We won't, I mean, time-wise, they'll have to do all of that.
Did I miss how much the grant was?
It's $500,000. Well, $200,000. 500. Geez, Jenny. 50,000 per building times 4 buildings. So 200,000. We also, and Brian, if you want to talk to this more, have PEPL built in, some PEPL dollars.
Yeah,
So
well, essentially, we've got, of the projected total cost of the whole thing, including the planning, we've kind of done this with Jeremy already, that we think probably we've got about 150,000 of this grant that we'll be able to put towards the middle school. We also are repurposing some PEPL funds into ESSER, where we're going to be able to cover, oh, Jenny, help me out, another, I think, 180,000 there. So we actually have, of the total, they aren't giving us an exact amount. I'm not going to say out loud, but I kind of know roughly what it is, but we've probably got a lot of the funds already.
Who's not saying how much?
Well, they can't say it's
I don't want to say it because they haven't given us that.
Our
I know
budget to
roughly
them was it needs to stay under
A certain amount.
under $450,000.
Yeah.
It needs to stay under that, is what we told them.
And so once this is approved, then they can go out and get bids.
Yeah.
They can finish the design and
And
go
they'll
get bids,
actually
and that'll
do it.
come before us also.
This will actually
Yes.
happen this coming summer too.
So this would hopefully start in May as soon as school's out, and then be done and ready by the time school begins.
So their fees are $60,000 of our under $450,000.
It's all included, yes. I double checked and made sure that was all included too. This is not in addition to.
Essentially, I said, what's the whole thing gonna cost? Yeah, but we've got a lot of the funds already there.
Wasn't there another fee that I had seen?
There is, this is de novo.
Okay,
And the other fee is, the 70,
construction
the
manager.
design, or actually that's the architect, sorry Roger, 60,000. And then the construction management is de novo.
Is it no one?
So they would oversee.
It runs about the same percentage as what we're doing with our construction.
Yeah, it's usually around 10 to 15%, right?
It's a little higher.
15.
Government girls, 100.
But the other thing is this, the nice thing about having de novo, this is actually because it's a federal grant. It's got the Davis-Bacon and the whole 9 yards, so we don't have to worry about vendors that are, this is another thing came up in our meeting is you gotta stay away from disbarred vendors. They take care of all that and everything.
They do all the vetting for us.
As
So
long
we
as
can
the
make sure we're
designing
getting-
is understanding our budget and designing to our budget.
We've already,
Yeah.
we've had several conversations and Bill and I have met with the architects, so It is nothing fancy, but it's going out from the, the ramp that's there. So you can't get rid of the ramp because of fire code. So it would start where the ramp goes to the windows, and we would go out further on the building, and then where there already is kind of a double entry that we don't use, that will actually be the double entry, and you'll walk into the office like that way. So they'll build out from the building, and then there'll be a new area for the secretaries, and then an office back behind. So we haven't decided, Bill can decide that, but there will be an office there if it's Bill, if it's a counselor, if it's Cindy, whoever. And then they'll repurpose some of their office space that they have in the current middle school right now.
So there will be additional square footage, what was it, 850 or something like that?
Yeah,
Is that what you had
it's
in?
not huge, but
No.
it's, actually, it's a bigger office than what Bill currently has.
And this is a nice security,
Yeah.
safety piece.
Yeah, the other thing that it does is it's designed, the office space is designed exactly like the high school office is, so everything, it looks similar, not like they're in two separate buildings. It also redesigns the front of the building, so then all of the entrances will look very similar, so it doesn't look, now they look, down there it looks much more modern than it looks down here, but they'll look the same. So,
We'll tie everything together.
ties everything kind of in together.
Will this all have to go out for bids, or can the existing contractors will have?
In a perfect world, you could have done this as a change order, but it didn't qualify. That was
But
first
the
thing.
existing contractors will have some advantage being on site, I suspect.
We're hoping so.
Yeah, yeah. Just makes sense, doesn't it? Very good. Any other discussion, or would someone like to make a motion about this item number 2? The approval of professional services proposal for the middle school secure entry.
So moved.
So moved by Al. I'll second.
I'll second.
Roger. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Okay, we're off to action item E3 here. Approval of issuance number 1, baiting change order number 4. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, its total is about $18,000. That's for an alarm and projector. Maybe you'd like to elaborate on that a little bit more.
So this includes that projector relocation ad, so we're putting that in there. The trim repaint, I don't know if it's very minor, but there was a red strip all the way along the border in the middle of the auditorium, and it did not look aesthetically very well, so they repainted that to a gray. And then the fire alarm ads are because the delay in the starting of the high school didn't allow us to get the fire sprinklers hooked up to them, so we had to add fire alarms in order to be able to get into it so those are the 3.
That's fine.
You had mentioned earlier, as far as the projector, that you're still researching. So how does that?
We're still, I don't know.
See, this is an ad, but it hasn't happened yet. Because I think we've told them, we kind of want to research the usage and everything to see what's the most economical thing or what's the most practical thing to do.
So
So
Brian,
what is
can
that?
we approve the fire alarms and the trim repaint and not?
Well, we
At
can
this-
what they'll do if they put this on, if we choose to go different, it'll just be a negative at some point in time.
Okay.
But this doesn't hold us up that way.
This is for going back into the same spot,
If we want to.
which I would think we didn't want to if we can't get the shells in.
Well,
Actually, it's
and the-
relocating it.
Oh,
Yeah, Travis was gonna relocate it, is looking to see if he can relocate it so it doesn't affect the shelves.
Got it. Was that the only issue?
It was,
They were gonna actually have to move some of the tracking and stuff too.
Oh, for the curtains and stuff?
That's the reason we're researching it.
are there
Well,
other
who was
options?
looking into that when we put it all in?
I don't know, that's the question. I mean, that's what
I
we
think
said,
the
like,
curtains are too low too, right? They sit on the shelves.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, they're too low for the curtains were hung too low.
Well, there has to be some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Like average height of hanging curtains. Surely no one just guessed. That looks good. I like that.
I think there's something up there, so they need to cut one of the, I can't remember.
Oh, for
I
heaven's sake.
saw it, but they are sitting on the shelf and the shelves are up.
Well, that's good. I think.
So we'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to understand, Brian, if we approve this change order, but you aren't sure if you're going to,
Then we'll get the credit back.
you'll get it.
We'll get the credit back if we choose a different
If we
path.
choose to
that
go
will
that
work.
route, then it's already passed and it can move forward quickly.
Okay.
If we don't,
Right.
we'll get the money back.
Okay. Thanks, Greg. Yep. Okay. If you say so.
I don't. That was kind of
There are
question mark at
times-
the end of my, can I put a question mark at the end of that?
Well, there are times when everyone's
I
like
think
shaking
that's
their
what
heads.
Brian's
Like, oh yeah. I'm
saying.
like, oh, okay.
Can you
yeah.
put it succinctly, right?
Yeah, what he said.
Yep, yep. Very good.
I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but this is part of why, like, they'll actually design it to what we're saying, right? Bill, you'll make sure of that.
Yeah.
There you go. I trust that guy. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? Or would someone like to make a motion on the approval of issuance number 1, baiting change order number 4?
I'm sure.
Is that
I'll move.
a motion?
Oh, sorry. Yes,
Do that,
let's do
Jennifer?
it. Yep.
Jennifer,
She
so
beat
moved.
Sorry.
And the
I'll second it.
By Jade. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Okay, now we are to item number E4, approval of new middle school IJAG teacher for the 24-25 school year.
Okay, so we would like to add a IJAG, which is the same program that Zeke was in. We've only had our IJAG program at the high school for, this is its second year, but it grew from 5 kids to about almost close to 60. And we feel like through the middle school, we can just continue that flow. 60 is the total, is the highest, the roster.
I think we're 58, you said last month.
Yeah, she just keeps, yeah, she's, so this is a win-win for our district because it's a collaboration between the school district, the Department of Education, and Workforce Development. So you each pay a third. So we get a full-time teacher for $25,000. We don't have to pay benefits, we don't have to pay, they're not ours, they're hired by IJ. They are, I mean, we get a say in that, Bill and I will get to sit in there with the interview, but it's just a win-win because you get a full-time teacher and they can work, we spoke yesterday with the gentleman and they can work with 6th through 7th and 8th graders and they'll open things up. In fact, he said if we want, the reason we're getting it to you now is because if you approve this, they will let us start looking for somebody to hire right now, and if we get them hired by February 28th, they can start for free, and we don't have to pay for them until next year. So
Perfect.
It'll help with the transition with Lori. It'll also help with Lori, who's the high school teacher. They go on field trips and they do all kinds of things, and they'll have bigger groups, and she'll have somebody to do things with. And the push right now is more work-based experience. So this can just help us get everybody kind of right in line with all of that.
And isn't there some corporate money that gets involved in this
The
too?
workforce development,
I see.
and then, so this, which is a state organization, Department of Ed, and then us, yeah.
Does
And
that-
Go ahead.
Does that program work with not only the trades, but does it also work professionally with?
It works
office?
individually with the student, so if I say I wanna work in a bank, then they'll hook you up with somebody to just get some experiences and.
And it's for 1 year outside of high school also?
Yes, yep, they also.
So they follow them for a year to help them get set still and.
How are the students selected?
So they have to qualify, and there's about 100 at-risk factors, so at some point, an at-risk factor.
Yeah, they call them barriers.
Barriers.
Yeah, there's like 100 barriers, say, and you have to have 5. So, and most kids, you can find 5 barriers, you know, if it's someone who you think would fit the program, that would be, you know, sometimes a kid needs someone to say, hey, here's the potential career path, let me help you work through it. You know, maybe they don't have someone at home who is able to talk them through that career path or something like that. So it's just an extra person, a coach to help them through so that, and how beneficial if you start in 6th grade as an IJAG and you're able to go, have that support all the way through.
I assume at some point, if it ever needed justification, we would see a decrease in dropout numbers or students that didn't finish with their high school diploma.
Yeah, that's one of the main pieces is to help the.
Because it's really it focuses on any kid interested, but really on those kids who are at risk.
Just to see, I don't know, the next IJAG opportunity we have where they run it, the kids run it. It's not a teacher, it's not an adult. It's amazing to see Zeke up there running a meeting or having a dinner or including, just like he said, it's given me a lot of confidence. You see that in many other kids. It's just a really good thing for them. And it all depends on the teacher too. I mean, Lori does a really good job. So she helps them in big ways.
Yeah, I think in that third paragraph there on this, it talks about the performance goals were 90% graduation, GED rate, 80% overall success.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a pretty extensive, this program has grown quite extensively statewide or nationwide, so they are keeping track of their stats too. So that was one of the things that he said that they're going to continue to do and they want to do more of and keep track. They also even said career exploration wise, they're getting the VR, is that what you, the virtual reality? And like he said, because sometimes you can't get into different field trips if you're not old enough or if you're not, and so then they're going to buy these VR experiences and they can have an experience and just, here's what it's like to be.
68 different occupations that will have video preloads, so if a student wants to see what it's like in this job field, then they can kind of cue that up and then they take an actual virtual job shadow to that occupation through the VR headsets.
And this is a memorandum of understanding, not quite like a contract.
Yes, so this just kind of, memorandum of understanding.
So you need to reconnect to.
Okay, any other thoughts on this? Or should we put it to a vote to approve the new middle school IJAG teacher for the 24-25 school year?
So moved.
So moved by Jade.
I'll second.
Second by Jen. Keep
You're
it up, Catherine.
100% tonight.
So far, so good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, no. Okay, next we have item number 5, approval of the renewal of high school IJAG teacher for 24-25 school year. I noticed this is a little different move.
This is a little different move.
A little different, right?
It is because this is their just to extend each year the high school one that we already have. So same thing, $25,000. This money comes out of our at-risk dollars, so we've got it budgeted in.
Does it go towards our sped deficit? No.
That risk is a whole different by itself.
5%.
I'm sure 5. Okay. And if they get a raise, it comes from the other side?
We don't, they're paid totally through Iowa Jobs for America's Graduates, so we don't, this job is not an IPERS funded job, so that's the one thing. So sometimes you see retired teachers take these jobs because they can think they're not be in the IPERS system.
Anything else? Otherwise, we'll look for a motion to approve the renewal of the high school IJAG teacher for 24-25 school year. So moved by Greg. Second by Al. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
And those opposed, no. Next we have item 6, the policy review schedule, first reading, and it starts here at 605.08, artificial intelligence, oh my goodness, in educational environment. Here we are.
I thought you'd like this one if you read it.
So these are all pushed down from IASB. This is another policy primer that they sent. And Roger pointed out, because he's on committee, that one of them.
Well, from like 703 dot,
Oh, yeah, there was.
they're duplicated.
Yeah, so,
That's the same information.
Yep.
In the first reading of this, which is in the second reading
yep,
of the other
so
one tonight.
we, ironically,
We already had it.
we
read
already
this.
were reviewing them in last month, and then they came again this month. So what I'll do is, what we'll need to do is use the ones from a first reading.
In the second reading, or in the.
And I'll take them out of the second reading, because
okay.
unless they're exactly the same, if they're exactly the same, what you thought, 7-0.
Yeah, I thought it was very,
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll take them out of the second reading, because the first readings are the newest ones from IASB.
okay.
So that you'll see them again next.
Yep.
Yeah, they were a little, there might have been a little bit here and there.
But next month, when we have assembly policies, that won't be a problem anymore, you see?
And there went a couple
Somebody's
typos.
excited. Yeah?
There was a couple typos.
Did you change it?
No, I couldn't. Won't let me.
Is there much discussion of what AI is going to mean to education? Is that?
I think it's a big mystery right
Big
now.
mystery.
And I think what I hear is we need to get ahead of it and teach kids how to use it productively, because we're not going to stop them from doing it unproductively.
It's gonna be in everything.
Yeah.
It's already coming to the hospital. It's gonna be
Yeah.
everywhere, so.
And I just even think, like, we had to do a job description for the new English language navigator, and we played with it and practiced, and it was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
It is
you know,
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, it's-
yeah.
it's a
It gives you a
time saver for some
draft.
stuff.
I mean, you definitely have to go in and check things, but and it's only going to get smarter, because it's just everything that's out there and it pulls from that. So, yeah.
Which is worrisome. Have
It
we
is
not
very
watched
worrisome.
enough robot movies to
I saw
learn?
Terminator.
Is this gonna lose
He wasn't
your-
that smart.
I mean, is this gonna affect
True that.
analytical thinking? I mean, that's what I'm
yeah.
concerned about.
It
Just
could,
in
but it also
young
forces you to
kids.
you have to know that not everything in here is real, true. You have to review it, but yeah, no,
The English teacher in me worries about like quality of writing. Being able to write something yourself, or do you just?
Well, because it's already there. It can
It's already
adapt to
done.
what it's seen you write prior. It can adapt to your style. Yes.
That's what I'm thinking, Casey, and it's so hard. Well, teachers now have things they can go into the internet and see if something has been fabricated from, but
plagiarized.
in the plagiarized, that's what I was trying to say, thank you. But in the future, I wonder what that means.
Just gotta stay one step ahead of.
Yeah, we've got it.
But in doing this, we're not, in putting this in our policy, so I don't believe there's any in Iowa, but I have read that there are AI counseling sessions available where people are talking to artificial intelligence, and it's basically preloaded with, whatever types of psychology and sociology and different things. So in adapting this as a school, like we're not opening a door to that type of thing.
No, this
are
is
we?
to protect us.
I don't think so. You gotta have a policy, otherwise if you don't have anything.
That's true.
Yeah, we
It's no
just-
different than our business. We're putting a policy in because you gotta have, it's there. You're not gonna keep people from using it.
No.
I think you gotta teach the students how to use it correctly
Yeah.
and productively,
Yeah.
And like we said, it will adapt to your thinking and your frame of mind, where they can use it in a positive way.
My kid's generation understands that the internet is not necessarily always right, better than my generation does, because I didn't grow up with it. And I think AI will be the same.
Yeah.
Facebook is always right.
It's scary though.
It is very scary.
Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Scary.
It's scary.
There are influencers on Instagram that my kids tell me are completely AI generated. It's not a real person. Will post photos, talk, respond, that it's not real people. That's creepy.
I think it always goes back to like that inquiry based. So do we teach kids to just memorize facts and believe what we tell them? Or do we teach them to find the reason and purpose behind why they're doing what they're doing? And answering the question that we're asking, like can you solve that problem yourself? How do you do it? You know, so they have to find the purpose in learning how to write well. And that's my English side, is they have to see that it's important for them to know good grammar and punctuation, things like that. Because, I don't know, you guys needed a calculator a lot longer than I did, you know? So I don't know how it's going to change, but I think that's part of it, is they need to find that purpose.
Yeah, you know, there's the dynamic of the ones that we are teaching are the natives in that world, we're the immigrants to that world. And so we have to learn the language and everything, and they just grew up with it.
Geez, that makes me want to live in the old country.
Yeah, I don't love anything about it.
We didn't even have calculators.
That's slide rule, right?
Hammer and chisel.
Some of us are from the 1900s.
Right?
Greg had a stone tablet and a
Hammer and chisel.
hammer and chisel, yeah, okay. Stay one step ahead, that's the.
Thought your long division was hard.
Yeah.
Any other comments, or would someone like to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion on the policy. Can we do both of them at once, or do we gotta do them separately?
Separately.
But do we have to change the language if you're taking things out?
I'll
The
put
second
it
one
in.
maybe, huh? Is that what you're saying? Is that right, Catherine?
Yeah, 'cause
You're
this
gonna
is the
change the
first
second
reading.
This is
one?
the first reading, I'm approving the first reading as is.
Did someone second?
No.
Oh, I'll second. Oh,
We got a second by Jen.
sure.
Good, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, no. Okay, next item is item 7, policy review schedule, second reading.
So we
Perhaps
can
Catherine would like
say,
to.
yeah.
Which we basically have discussed already. We're just
Yeah.
gonna remove whatever duplication
Yep.
is in
Yep.
2 that is in the first reading of
Yep.
the first reading.
Is that a motion?
So moved.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so moved by Jade and a second.
I'll second.
Got Al. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those
Aye.
opposed, no. Next, we have item 8, the consent agenda. Any discussion on the consent agenda?
Brian took care of my questions, so I'm good.
Brian did have a lot of money going out this month.
Yeah.
didn't he?
Trying to keep the economy moving.
Somebody is.
Just all by himself.
Any
You didn't have any
discussion
questions?
or-
Dang it, Jim.
really didn't have much then. But you're off
Greg
the
had
hook,
one,
right?
so you're covered.
We're covered, huh? Could we have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
So move to approve it, I take it, Greg? Okay, and a second, please.
Second.
Second by Roger. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. And now to our favorite part of the meeting is item H, the adjournment. Would
So
anyone
moved.
like to adjourn. So moved by
Second.
Jade and second by Jen. All those in favor say aye.
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 And those opposed, no. We get to go home.
Do you guys want to see what the middle school, just a projected picture of it?
Yeah.
Sure.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's nice.
So we're not quite
just said
sure yet
under, so
because of
I
the
want-
glass that's in the front there. The secretaries weren't real sure about having all that exposure, I guess. Is what, so he's reworking that a little bit. And then, so that black part would be just the front part and then the office is behind. And then this would be this is the high school entrance, but the middle school would look similar to that. So those would look the same when you came into either office. So it's not, ooh, thanks.
Who, Jade and who for the?
So those are just the pictures. I just wanted to show you those real quick.
Those are nice.
So yeah, it's nothing,
And within our budget, right?
it's within the,
Okay.
it's gonna be, it's gonna have to be. Yep.
Perfect.